Hello there. I'm gonna try to do this one in one take and do no edits on it. And let me begin to say welcome to this image review over the past, I think, 7 videos from the trip I did to Dalarna during the early winter, and then 2 more episodes that I released after that. I'm gonna take up the images here, and I have some coffee, and I hope you bring something nice to drink to this cozy little session as well. And I also have some quick lunch, which is the best chocolate to ever come out of Norway, honestly. So let's jump straight into this with the first image, and we're gonna do it similar to what we did last time, in that I'm just gonna look at the image, say my thoughts about the image now that I've had it for a while, that I've distanced myself a little bit from the situation and everything, and I can review it in a better way, I think, at least. And also keep with the rating system and everything. So let's do that, and let's start with the first image. And this image was the one that I took when I'd driven for 6 hours, I think. And I just got up to the mountain before the light really started to vanish. It was a little bit better light before I actually got to the location where I found this composition. But anyway, what do I think of this image now? I gave it a rating of 2, I think. And I think that rating is going to stick, because it is an alright composition, or rather it would have been an alright composition if I could have seen the mountain in the background. But I think the fact that I basically can't see it since there's too many clouds, or too low clouds really, that it creates an issue in the balance of the image. So I have this really strong foreground, a lot of things happening there, but it doesn't flow into anything. It doesn't have anything to kind of counterweight it in the background, or whatever you want to call it. The way that I would say is that it doesn't integrate into a scene. It is lacking the conclusion of the development of the foreground. So yeah, that is that image. I would keep it low, added to. It's an alright image, but nothing more than that. And then the next one, keep in mind, I just drove down from the mountain and I saw this nice forest area, and I decided to stop there and look around. I'd never been there before, the same way at the mountain. But what do I think of it? I think I gave it a rating of 2 as well. I'm gonna keep it. What I'm considering is whether or not I should keep it at 2 or even lower it down to 1. And it is basically for the same reasons as for the first image. It doesn't integrate all that well into a complete scene, in a sense. But here is more, it's not so much the light or the low clouds or anything obtruding from the composition. It's just the background element isn't lending well to the foreground trees. I think the foreground trees, I think I found something pretty good there, but the background itself isn't isn't working well with it. It becomes distraction with it becomes distracting with too many, or too much frequency, or too much frequency in the background there. So having lower clouds even, or like mist flowing through, would have softened that up and improved the image a little bit. But still, I don't think it's that good for composition, but it is well executed, so I'm gonna keep it at 2. Oh, and the next one after that, image number 3, is kind of interesting, in that it is a morning shot. The morning sky that day wasn't looking particularly good, and the light that we actually have in the image is actually from me painting it in, and that's the interesting part of the image. Let me see, I gave it a 3-star rating before, and it's difficult since basically all the light in the image is painted in. It becomes a little bit of a conflict of whether or not I should like it or I shouldn't like it. I do like that I'm able to do that much and it isn't looking all that unnatural. And I think the composition integrates quite well. It's not perfect, but it integrates quite well to a scene. We have a good beginning with the sun or the sunlight itself, and then we have a nice sorry, we have a nice development through the image of the light, and then an alright or okay-ish conclusion with the mountain on the right side, so it's left to right flow in the image. Yeah. But actually I think I'm gonna lower it down to 2 stars, just say that it's alright. Or am I gonna do that? I'll say it is better than the first 2. And with that in mind, it should have a higher rating. So yeah, it's gonna stay at 3 stars. It's going to get repetitive. And the next one after that, that was yet again after I photographed the sunrise up in the mountain. I drove down to the same forest, so kind of repeating myself there. But it was higher clouds, so I had better visibility, I had more time, and I saw, all the time I was hiking, I kept looking to my right and I saw this mountain, which is basically the same that I photographed earlier but from a different angle, and I could see it through the treetops, but I was actually looking to get a cleaner view of it. But what I found in the end here is something that works pretty well, even if it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. And I gave this image before 4 stars, which is very good. The rating, that is. And the reason for that is just that it integrates very well into a scene. We have the really strong tree to the left there. It's strong in the sense that it's close up, and you can really see that it's really prominent. Since it's different from the other trees in that you can't see the top or the bottom of it, so it becomes really prominent in that way. And since it is that much closer, difficult word, And then everything is just pointing up towards the mountain in the middle there, and everything kind of complements each other. The only thing that I'm not that satisfied with is the light there in that image. But the composition itself I really like. So with that in mind, I'm actually yet again gonna keep it at 4 stars. I did a good job of rating the image to begin with in this series, I think. So yeah, 4 stars there. If it had better light, it would have been a 5-star image, I think. Alright, the next image. Yeah. Which is the late morning during the next day. And I hiked into a forest area closer to where I grew up. Yeah, it's a difficult place to photograph in the sense that it was difficult to photograph. No, but honestly, it was difficult to photograph in the sense that nothing was really standing out among the crowd. Everything was basically the same, and it was interesting, but everything was kind of closed down, if you understand me. Everything was really close in upon me, and it was a lot of the same, and nothing was standing out. And I just repeated myself with everything I just said there, so I hope you understand me. But I gave this image 2 stars in the series, and the reason for that was basically that I don't think that it works that, or I don't think it's that nice of a scene. It kind of is a scene, but the conclusion isn't really all that good, since it doesn't really end in anything. It's simply a foreground in the tree, and then comes like the development of that, which is, let's say, the mid-ground is. It could have been this. I guess my intention was there was the snow, the slope there, that was going to be the development, the mid-ground, the midpoint, the middle of the image, but it isn't really working that. It's simply the tree, and then the forest, the trees on the slopes becomes the development and the end point. So I don't think it worked out that well. I did succeed in a sense that I captured what I said I was going to capture in the image or in the video, and I did capture that, but I don't think it turned out that nice. I'm gonna keep it at 2 because, well, it is alright. It's technically correct, and yeah, 2 stars. And the next one, or the next 2, I'm gonna say here, since these 2 are pretty much the same. I gave the first one here 2 stars, and the second one I gave 3 stars. And I think I said in the video that it is pretty much the same as the previous one, just better. But now I'm gonna reverse that statement and say that the second one is pretty much the same as the first one, only that the first one is better. And what I like about the first one is that it has more of an interest in that it is an open area surrounded by thicker forest. So I would like to re-edit this image perhaps, and then it might be up to 3 star on the first image here. And the second image I'm gonna lower down to a 2-star. I don't like it that much right now. The thing that I was going for with the second image there is the progression of the trees, but I don't think I managed really well with getting the beginning of the image. You have this big or small, middle-sized-ish boulder laying there, which is just below the first tree there, and that, I think that steals a little bit too much attention, so perhaps cropping that away would increase the value, increase the niceness of the scene. Maybe, I don't know. I think I would need to work more on both of them. In their current state, I'm not too fond of either of them, but as I said, if I go back and work on them, I might be able to come away with something. I'm not sure. I don't think I'm gonna have time to work on it before I'm releasing this video though, so yeah. I'm gonna lower the second one down to 2 stars, so both of them are on 2 stars. That both are all right, but nothing more than that. Yeah. Then the next one, which is on another day. I think it's on the 4th day of the trip, and it's down at Hell's Falls. It's a really nice composition. I gave it 4 stars in the video, I think, in the series, and I think I'd keep it. Might actually lower it down to 3 stars only because of the lack of light. But it is a nice composition. But it is. Sorry, I'm just gonna take a little bit of chocolate. If you found this annoying, I'm sorry. But as I said, I do like the composition there, but I don't necessarily like the light, and I think it's lacking that quality of light that would push it to be a greater image. Because light is really important. I mean, if you have a really boring light, which means light that isn't adding something to the composition, this light is completely neutral. It isn't adding anything and it isn't detracting anything. So I'm gonna lower it down to 3 stars. So keep it at a good image. It is a good image, but considering the lack of light in it, it isn't really anything more. So yeah, 3 stars on that one. And this is a place I would really like to come back to someday. And the next one, which is definitely my favorite of the whole trip, I gave it 5 stars in the series, and I'm gonna keep it at 5 stars. And you might be thinking, as it was with the first image, it kind of waters or drains out into nothing in the background, or in the background. But in this image, it is part of what is the it's part of the development it's supposed to end like that. It is part of the meaning in the image that it is this fog that is laying out over this mirror. Is that the right word for it? Like a bog, but not really a bog, but an open, wet area, which in Sweden we call it a myr. Anyway, and it kind of flows through there with a few trees just standing there, like very clean, and then it just simply, you can sense that it goes on further than you can see, but the fog just removes that ability for you. So the fog here, or the ability not to see where the ending is the ending, if you understand. It is the conclusion of the image that you can't see any further because of the fog. And I've composed it in such a way that I've composed it some dog or bird or something that's making a lot of noise. Anyway, I've composed it in such a way that it's supposed to flow into a nothingness in that sense, and it's not really isn't anything I would like to change with the image itself. I kept it kind of low contrast, and I really like it. I'm gonna keep it at 5 stars, which is what is it? Anyway, I'm gonna keep it at 5 stars, and it is something right here. Why can't I remember it? Astonishing, amazing. Not editing things reveals things about yourself, doesn't it? Excellent. Let's say that it is an excellent image. Exceptional. I think exceptional is the one that I used. It's an exceptional image in the sense that everything works together. And the next image after that is on the last day, and I gave that one 3 stars, and it works pretty well with the wall itself, and you can see at least a little bit of water, and you can, at least the way that I see it is that you can kind of envision it over time, kind of chipping away, eating away at the mountain, and it tells a story in that sense. It kind of is a scene. It doesn't have the strongest conclusion. It has a strong beginning in the rock wall, and it has a development that is happening with water flowing, and the conclusion is kind of imaginary, if you can see it the way that I see it, in that the water eats away at the rock wall and just digging deeper and deeper into it. I think it's an all right image, or it's a good image. I'm gonna keep it at 3 stars. It is good image. It's better than the ones that I have on 2 stars, but it's not better than okay or good. No, good is the right. Is it? Anyway, I'm gonna keep it at 3 stars. Now we have the images that I took. Those two episodes there were actually recorded. So this is a little bit of insight for those of you who watch all of my content. Those 2 episodes were recorded before I went up to Dalarna, which is why those were recorded on the same camera my same vlogging camera as the one that I destroyed on my trip. And the next video I'm going to be publishing after this one will be recorded on the new camera, which is the camera which is recording me now. And this is not complicated at all. It's very straightforward. So yeah, I might as well just mention it, that the way that I test out gear is by using it the way that I intend to use it, which means I get it and I go out and shoot with it. So the settings in the upcoming videos are very experimental, and just keep that in mind, that the video quality is going to be a little bit so-so until I get familiar with the camera, which I'd consider myself being now. The only thing that it might be a little so-so is perhaps the autofocus, but otherwise I feel like I have good knowledge of the camera. Anyway, good chocolate. A little bit more coffee before we continue. Cheers. So, the image of the waterfall, or the stream really. I gave it 3 stars. I'm probably gonna keep it at 3 stars. It is a good image in the sense that it's a nice flowing stream. It really flows well through the image, which gives it a nice... Water is very forgiving or easy to work with, in the sense that it's easy to create a beginning or an ending, it's easy to create a beginning and a development through the image, since a stream is by its nature streaming through a composition, if you frame it properly. So it's very good in that sense. The only thing that this image is lacking is, one, it doesn't have very good light. The light that it seems to have is mostly added by me in post, but still it looks all right. It looks all right for around the waterfall, but where the image is really lacking is to the sides. And as you can notice there, what I've done is simply to darken it down and remove emphasis from those parts, so that the image is mostly just about the stream itself. So it has a nice beginning, it has a development, but it doesn't necessarily have the best of conclusions, which means the best of endings. Still, I'd say it is good. It's pretty good flow and framed it in a nice way, so it works well in that sense. And I'm going to keep it at 3 stars. The next image I actually like quite a lot. Look, reached the recording limit, apparently. Sorry about that. Let me just open up the app again. Let's see, I think we were there. So, this is the image of the slope, which I like very much, and I gave it 4 stars. The difficult part about a composition like this is actually finding it. And the way that I find compositions like this, or like these, are basically that I turn off the trail and I start to just wander into the forest and hope to not really get the spark of inspiration, but I hope to that my eye catches something that is of great enough interest that it's worth it for me to work it, develop it into a proper scene. And that is what I did with this one. It's not that often that I find compositions like these that I like this much, but when I do, makes all the failures worth it. And what I saw in this scene is basically the tree in the middle there with the moss on the trunk starting to grow up and all the moss around it. I was hit by this soft light from the opening where I came upon it, and this opening just above me was shining a little bit of light on it. And I enhanced that light in post, and I think I did a pretty good job on it. A kind of conal, the light is kind of conal, growing out from the bottom left corner in a sense, and it begins there and just flows through, has a nice development through the image, and the conclusion is simply that the forest goes on and it gets darker. I think it conveys that I'm standing in a what's that word? In a grove, I think would be a acceptable word for it. And that is a darker forest beyond it, and this is like the key point of light basically. So I could even see the light being a little bit better. I could see the light being a little bit better though, so therefore I'm gonna keep it at 4 stars. And my hands are starting to get really cold, but I can't use my gloves since I had to use the touchscreen. And that brings us to the final image here, which is the image during the frosty, cold, early winter's morning. And this one I gave 5 stars, and I really like it. I really do. And the reason why I gave it 5 stars is kind of because of well, first and foremost, it is a good scene. It has a beginning. It starts either at the bottom or at the top in the sky, and then the progression, the development of that is simply pushing you towards the conclusion, which is the bright part of the sky. The color there really is the conclusion. It really works well, and it has kind of a playful nature in the sense that both the foreground and the sky are really both have quite a lot of interest. So you can easily jump between both of them, kind of like a pinball game or whatever, just jumping back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until you finally get into the middle there. So it works really well. The only thing that I might not be 100 that I don't like to 100% is the forest that is intruding from both sides, but it's a minor point. I'm gonna keep it at 5 stars. There are a few changes that I might be considering. For example, darkening down the sky perhaps a little bit and try to add darkening down the sky, as I said, is in order to make it a little bit more dramatic, darker. Some of you would say moody, but I don't really like the description of that word. I don't think it describes what I'm aiming at. And then I also would consider adding a little bit more pop into the foreground in order to emphasize a little bit more that it actually is frost on the grass there. It isn't that obvious, especially when viewing it on a smaller screen like I am. Yeah, that concludes the. Oh, that concludes. Oh God, what am I doing? There we go. Close down. That concludes the image review today. Let me put these ones on. Yes. Next week we'll be back on another ordinary video. And yeah, I think I had your attention for long enough now, so let me just say thank you all so for. And I screwed it up. I said I wouldn't edit it, so let's do it once again. I'd like to say thank you all so much for watching, and hope you've enjoyed this. If you did, then leave a like. Remember to subscribe in order to stay tuned for more content, and write a comment if you have any questions. And before I say goodbye, let me just say that in the future I would like to make this image review into a live stream. I think that would be really fun. Then we could have a proper interaction when I'm reviewing the images, and you can put your questions down in real time and everything. I think that could be really interesting. I don't know why it feels like it's gonna start to rain. There are no rain clouds above me. Anyway, I think a live stream would be pretty nice, but just need to get a better internet connection first. It's in the workings. Gonna have it before the summer is over, I hope, at least. And then let's make it into a live stream. Other than that, the content is going to progress as normal. I might have a couple of announcements coming in the not too distant future. Not really changes on the channel, but a little bit of a clarification of the focus going forward, and perhaps a new series coming as well. So, thumbs up on that. So, that is the end. What I'm gonna do now is to photograph. I'm gonna wait for the sun to set and this guy to hopefully get some color, even though I'm doubtful. But that's neither here nor there, because it's a technical image and I'm not recording a video, so you're not gonna see it. I might show you the image actually, but I'm not gonna show you the image. Sorry, I'm rambling. I'm waffling on. I am waffling on. So, until next time, goodbye. For real.